guys, and welcome back to another book review. So this book is called Dead Girls Don't Lie, and it's by Jennifer Shaw Wolf. I had never heard of this book. I had never heard of the author. I was sent this book for Christmas. It was a gift from my boyfriend's brother and his girlfriend. They sent me this book as a present. So I had never heard of this book before, and I honestly haven't seen much about it. I don't know, when did it come out? Let's see, 2013, so it's a couple years old. So maybe it was popular back in 2013. I don't remember. I was a senior in high school in 2013, so yeah, I don't really remember hearing anything about it, but this is a YA thriller, I would say. It's not really that scary. It's more like a mystery thriller, and it is in the YA genre. So let's get into it. The cover is nice. It's just, you know, a girl in the leaves outside, you know, probably dead. And then the back says, JC and Rachel were best friends, but that was before that terrible night at the old house, before Rachel's secrets shut JC out, before JC chose Skylar over Rachel, before Rachel was found dead. The police say Rachel's death was an accident, but JC is sure it has to do with what they witnessed at the old house. Rachel's last text is JC's first clue, but someone else is searching for clues, and he will stop at nothing to keep JC from figuring out the truth. Can JC find a way to free Rachel from the lies before suffering the same fate? So I really had no idea going into this book what to expect, what I was looking for. Like, I didn't really know what it was about. I figured that it was about a death that they were going to solve, but really nothing else. It doesn't really tell you a lot. So let's get into it. The characters are 16, I'm pretty sure, so they're like young teenagers in high school, and JC is the main character, so she's the best friend to Rachel, who was found dead, and they've been best friends since childhood. I think it was like kindergarten. I'm pretty sure it was kindergarten when they became friends. JC and Rachel recently had a falling out. It doesn't really tell you a lot about it yet, but you do find out later on why they had a falling out. So they haven't actually spoken to each other in 6 months, so there's that information. And JC happened to be with Skylar, who is her love interest in the book. JC was with Skylar the night that Rachel was murdered, and Rachel actually reached out to JC and texted her wanting to talk because there was something that needed to they needed to talk about. Like, it was very important, and JC ignored her, and then she found out Rachel had been murdered. The murder was dubbed a gang-related murder because this book takes place in Washington, where there are a lot of migrant farmers. So there are a lot of people from Mexico, a lot of like Hispanic Mexican people that work in this town and like live there as migrant farmers. And the book is pretty racist. I know that's like what it's supposed to be, but like it's a lot of racism. Like, the town is very unwelcoming to the migrant farmers. They don't like them. They think they're bad people. They're basically just dubbed evil in this town. They just are seen as like bad people. And then the rest of the book is basically JC is given clues from Rachel, like through someone else, which we'll get to in a minute, but she's given these clues to help solve what has happened to Rachel, because she was murdered, but someone else was murdered just a few months, maybe a few weeks before. I think it was a few months. So JC is trying to solve both of those murders. Rachel ends up telling JC to trust this guy Eduardo, and he was Rachel's friend, but he's very like, I don't know, they don't get along very well. They both don't trust each other, which is not very helpful, but Rachel tells her to only trust Eduardo, not trust anyone else, and not trust the police. So JC is a really annoying character in my opinion. I know she's 16, I get it, she's a teenager, but she is so stupid. She makes the dumbest decisions. She gets all these clues from Rachel, but then doesn't listen to Rachel. Like, Rachel tells her, hey, trust Eduardo, and she's like, no thanks, I'm gonna trust everyone besides this guy that you told me to trust, even though I should be listening to you because you're the one that's telling me things. But JC's just so naive. Like, she's just, I don't know, she's just kind of dumb. Like, you would think she would be a little bit more smart, even though I know she's 16, so she's like an irrational teenager, but I feel like I was not that stupid at 16. Like, I feel like if you had given me this task, I would have been able to follow directions. I don't know, whatever. I just don't really care for JC. She's really, really annoying. Another thing is her dad. Her parents are split up. Her mom lives in Washington, D.C., and she lives with her dad in Washington. And they're both lawyers, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're both lawyers. And she lives with her dad, and her dad is pretty religious. They're both pretty religious. And the book does have a lot of religious tones in it, which doesn't really bother me. I don't mind books that contain religion because I consider myself a Christian person. However, I just didn't like how this book portrayed Christians. I guess it was like that small town mindset and stuff, but like a lot of them were very racist. They were like just very unkind, gossipy people. And I know it had to do with the small town mindset, but it just was bothersome that it was also like religious in that aspect. I could have done without them being associated to the church. That's just my personal opinion though. I don't mind religious tones in books. I don't mind. It's just I did not like how this one was portrayed in the book. It left a bad taste in my mouth. It just didn't make me like it, if that makes sense. I felt like the book was pretty fast-paced, but again, I feel like it could have been shortened a little bit. Like, I feel like some of the stuff, like, it dragged on a little bit in certain places, and I was like, I feel like you could have just wrapped it up a teeny bit faster, but I thought it was pretty well fast-paced. I did think it was a little predictable. I had a gut feeling the entire time I was reading it, and I thought it was kind of obvious, but when I got to the end, I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of saw it coming. I just think it's predictable in the fact that when you feel off about a character, it's probably because they're not good in this book. It's just pretty obvious that they're the bad person, so that's kind of annoying because I don't like to know who the bad people are that fast. I like to be like tricked and like my mind played with a little bit. The ending did match the overall tone of the book. I kind of expected the ending to be what it was. I was a little bit sad, only because I had this gut feeling how the book was going to end, and it did end up ending the way I thought it was going to. And I just didn't like the ending in that. Like, I didn't want it to be that kind of ending, and it was. So that was kind of annoying. It wasn't a bad ending. It's just not what I was hoping for, even though the whole time I was reading it, I was kind of like, this is how it's going to go, isn't it? So that was kind of upsetting for me. But overall, I think the book is a decent YA thriller. I don't think it's amazing. Like, if I had to rate it out of like 5 stars, I'd probably give it like a 3. I thought it was good. Like, it kept my attention for the most part. Like, I did want to finish reading it. It wasn't that bad. But like, I did find it to be a little too predictable for my taste, which is kind of annoying because I like to be distracted. I like to have red herrings, and I like to be confused and think the wrong people are bad and the right people are good, you know, or you know what I mean. But I like to think like bad people are good and then the good people are bad. Like, I like to be confused during books because I like to not know what's happening, you know what I mean? And I just felt like this book was kind of obvious the whole time, except to the main character. I felt like she had no idea what was going on the whole time, but I did, so I don't know. I did think this book was a decent YA thriller. If you don't mind like predictable plot points and stuff like that, I think this book is fine. I think it's good. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. It just isn't anything special in my opinion. I don't know if I will read it again, but I didn't mind reading it. So yeah, that's how I feel. That's pretty much all that there is to say about this book. There's not too much There's a lot more characters involved, but again, that leads into the more of the plot, which I don't want to get into too deeply because there's like, you know, things that happen. So let me know if you guys have read this book, if you're going to check it out, or if you're going to pass. And I hope you guys like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video.